Hi, and thanks for joining this joint ProtectOrg and Flare webinar on this lovely Thursday. So I'll got a bit of an agenda here. So we have a small introduction, and then we'll be talking about the ProtectOrg portal for alerts and knowledge base, and then tickets and change management. And we'll be handing over to Flare, who's going to be talking about Stealer locks, which is a very current topic at the moment. I think we're all going to learn something there. So let me just set the scene about what the ProtectOrg portal is trying to do. Now, security is about seconds. And the quicker that you get the information, the more likely you are to be able to survive a ransom attack or a malware attack. So being able to get the information quickly and then being able to know what you can actually do with that information is completely vital to the survival of your organization. Now, we may have a very good antivirus or a very good ransomware, but it's not quite enough. We have to be in the mindset of what do we do? Now, I have quite a lot of experience, fortunately or unfortunately, of being on the receiving end of ransomware or malware, and it's a very different experience, and you can panic, and it can change the way you think. So what we try to do with the ProtectOrg portal is we're using some already key technologies like Microsoft Azure, Microsoft Sentinel, and we also use a product called System Center Operations Manager, which helps us look for what's going on premise. Now, we've modified this, all of these products, so you won't actually see them. What you'll just see is the ProtectOrg portal, but they will be driven by these products. And we've also added in AI in there as well to give us the ability to get an understanding of what it is we have to do to remediate the problem, because those seconds are going to be what dictates how successful we are with ransomware or with malware, particularly with ransomware, because the game is to disable you quickly. So, you know, we see quite a few examples of where an attack will happen in area A, and you focus on that, but then there's another team that's going to be focusing on another area in your network as well. And when that happens, it's a very disconcerting experience. So this knowledge base and this speed of these products will give you the ability to one, thwart that attack, but the real goal is that you can actually see it before it's happening, and that's another key part. So not all attacks come from outside. Signs of an internal attack is very different. It may be an internal user. I think in reality, security is a very scary topic. People want to romance it slightly, but these bad actors will try anything and everything to be able to gain access into an environment. If that's a serious environment where they could make a difference to a national organization or a defense or something, they'll go to great lengths to do work. So they may research someone in your organization has just, you know, divorced or something, or they've got in debt or something, and they become prime targets for these internal attacks, because they'll help them financially to resolve some problems for information to get inside. They will literally try whatever they can do to get to their goal, which is to attack you. So being able to look for those internal attacks is different, and that's where our on-premise agents come very useful for this, because we can detect if someone's doing something that's out of the ordinary, not normal. But it may not necessarily be malware, it may not necessarily be ransomware, but there's always signs that something's happening, and this is crucial moments that we need to gain that information. Just last year, we were involved in an organization that got hit by ransomware, and when we were doing the debrief, we discovered that there were actually signs that told us that the bad actors had been there several months prior to the attack, and they had really thought through what they were going to do and how they were going to attack the organization. So what our AI-powered SOC protects? Servers. It's an obvious one that we're looking for servers, but where our full complement of tooling is, as I say, we're using the Microsoft security tools. So we'll be using Defender, typically P2, and we'll also have our on-premise agents. So we'll be looking on servers for all a matter of things. Could be a raise in performance because people are running tools, or they're trying to get into an account, or they're actually trying to deploy some malware or some kind of tooling that helps them break into the environment. So we'll be monitoring servers, and the same with endpoints. Now, software, so specifically we're looking for companies that create software and use DevOps. So we can monitor DevOps. We can start looking for has someone attempted to get code into your code, or are they trying to install some sort of malware that will sit there silently and then get deployed to your clients. So we can start monitoring for software, but you have to be connected to DevOps for us to be able to do that. And then traffic, by connecting the Sentinel up to a firewall syslog server, we can start to see outside of the organization of what's going on by what people are trying to get into on your firewall. We saw something just short of a year ago of a particular server that was trying to attack an environment, and we traced it all the way back to China, and then we managed to thwart that attack. They were trying to attack this particular company in a very, very specific way, but we caught sight of that. And that's a key area where working with Flare has become crucial to our business, because by the threat intelligence of looking into the dark web use, like looking into that crystal ball to see what information there is on the internet that is about a particular company and what's being stored on the dark web that can be used to attack a company. So by combining Sentinel, ProtectOrg and Flare, it gives you an extremely good visibility of what can come and hurt you before it actually happens. So the ProtectOrg is an AI-powered SOC. So what does that really mean? So our alerting is not AI powered, okay? We are getting our alerting by using the mechanism from either Defender, our on-premise agents, or by using Sentinel. But where the AI powered comes into it is that we're cross-referencing that with the licensed version of OpenAI in Microsoft Azure. So we can give you answers quickly to what it is you need to do, what action is it you need to take, and it will advise you and help you on being able to resolve that problem quickly. Because when you get an alert, then if it's bad, that's when you're probably going to or at least if you've not been involved in an event before, it would be reasonable to say that you would panic a little bit, and I think that would be fair to say that most people do, even after 2 or 3 times. So this will help you go through that process of what you need to do to be able to resolve that problem and thwart that attack. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show a demo. It looks like we may have an issue with getting one of our technicians on, which is going to be awful for you because now you're going to have to listen to me for quite a bit longer. So just give me 1 second while I just change over screens. Getting this horribly wrong. There we go. That's what I want. Okay, so hopefully you can all see that now. So we're in the ProtectOrg portal now. We're looking at the dashboard. So the dashboard is a way to just get a 1,000-foot view of what's happening in your environment, the active alerts over time, or alerts closed by a day, alerts created by day. One of the cool things about this dashboard is we can modify it if we need to. So if I want to look at something in a slightly wider view, I can just pick up things and I can change them, can change size. I can reset my layout if I want to. I could expand this across there, or I could remove things if I want to, because I'm more interested in something and less interested in something else. So you can play around with things, move them around, etc. We're constantly adding reports into the portal and dashboards. So on here, I can have a look across my timeline and actually see, per day how many alerts I've got. And just today we've had a lot of alerts. Obviously, we've loaded it up a little bit for the presentation, and maybe added quite a few alerts in there. But you get that view. Although I've got kind of used to this portal now, you can open it up and you can get a full view, or you can just close that to get some more real estate. But if I go into the alerts, I can see immediately that some of my alerts are from Sentinel, some of them are security alerts, some of them are health security alerts, but I have a mixture of alerts in this environment. So if I, for example, let's have a look what we've got here. And if let's see if we can, there we go. Let's see if we look for Mimikatz. If anyone's familiar with Mimikatz, a way of stealing credentials. I can actually see that it's been detected. It's telling me what it's going to, what it can do. That it's a credential theft tool that will harvest, plain text passwords and hashes, or PIN codes, etc., and Kerberos tickets. And because no one changes their Kerberos account, which should be done 3 times a year at least. But this is a scary tool, and if this gets near your environment, you're pretty well into being attacked. So being able to detect that tool is available is a crucial thing. Now, this is on high. So this means you would have already had an email about this. It would have already detailed that this had happened. And in our environment, if you host your security through us, we would have already isolated this machine automatically. But I can go to the knowledge base here, and it will tell me what I need to do, what processes I need to go through to be able to resolve this. And this is AI, and it's based on what is actually happening at this moment. Now, this Mimikatz is actually still on the server, so it's still be doing things. So the probability is if I run that again, that knowledge base may actually change and start telling us other things, because the attack has changed. And although we're still seeing that Mimikatz is on the environment, it may come back and say in our knowledge base that we need to look at things in a slightly different way now, because the process has moved further along down the line. So this will change. We often say to clients when we send out an alert to say that there's been an attack, that things could change in the straight away, and the email that you sent out could be actually out of date, because in a ransomware attack things happen very, very quickly. If I go back and find another alert where we've got one on premise. For example, here, a user account was changed. That gives us a bit of an indication that something's happened there. It's not picked up anything too much. Let's just find another one there. An account has failed to log on. So this particular account has failed to log on. It tells us what it was trying to do and where that process has been called by. It gives us a full breakdown, and then it gives us a full knowledge base on how that's happened and how we can resolve that. And it also tells us that we've got the auditing account locked out. So we're getting all of that information. So one of the key things about this is that I've always strived towards this thing called intellectual laziness. And I don't want to go looking for problems, because you could be looking in one place and something else could be happening somewhere else. So I don't want to do that. And then when I do get a problem, I want it to be immediately accompanied with something that's going to tell me how to resolve it. Because if I don't know how to resolve it, or one of the technicians doesn't know how to resolve it, they're going to get on the internet, they're going to go to a search engine, and then they're going to get back an answer. And it's reasonable to assume that if they didn't know what the answer was the first time, they may not know confidently what the answer is if it's looking at them. So they may try 3 or 4 or even 5 or 6 things before they resolve a problem, but that could have made things worse. So here, with this knowledge base, it's going to really pinpoint down to what it is you need to do, or how to go about resolving that. Say, for example, an organizational unit was modified, and these are coming from our on-premise agents. So it gives us a breakdown of what that is, and this one here is actually giving you an external information if you want to go and find out some more stuff. So we've got problem, and we've also got how to resolve that. So again, if I look into say, for instance, suspicious behavior, then it's going to come up and it's going to bring all those hash codes up, and these are the files that it's detected that don't make sense to it, and this is what it's actually trying to do, and against the actual machine that it's trying to run it against. So again, we would probably have already isolated this machine, and then we'll have knowledge base on how to go about resolving that and fixing it. Okay, so I don't think Todd got on, so I'm going to go into the next section here. Now at the bottom here, it's got to raise a ticket. Okay, so maybe if I go for an alert that I would go and create a ticket on because it's less urgent, and I say, right, I want to view that ticket. Oh, that one's already been created, sorry. Let me just go and create a ticket. There we go, raise a ticket. I could also disable alert if I think there's too much noise. So I'm just going to go and click and raise that ticket. And what it's done is it's created a ticket, and it will have appended over all of the information over from the original alert over onto the ticket, so we can see that straight away. So we've got a ticket summary, and then here we have it's like a chat. It's not Teams orientated, but engineers can talk between them if they wanted to. They could have a communication. This one here, I've opened up a different ticket, but this one here has already been resolved. By the looks of it, it's been auto resolved. So there's nothing else to do on that one. But if I assign a ticket to me, it's the one I probably just opened, and then I go and view that ticket, it's telling me that I can go and start change management. Okay, because I may want to go through the process of what it is I need to go and do to fix something. So if I go to edit, I could change if I wanted to the ticket, but I'm just going to leave it to what it is at the moment, and I'm going to open up the new process. So I think Todd had got all this organized, so I'm doing this on the fly. So I'm just going to write test demo stuff or something or other. Stiff. I is close to you, so I should be all right with that one though. All right, I'm going to just save that. I'm going to go and open up the plan. Now I could create a new plan, or I could actually just use our ITIL templates, which will create the standard sort of ITIL stuff: planning, implementation, acceptance, and back out. So if I open that up and I click on that for a manual check, and I'm saying that this is manual check 1. Actually, make it a little bit more realistic. So, okay, and then I could assign that to an engineer. So if I assign that to Todd, and then I'm going to add that item in. So now I've got part of my plan already. So now it's going on to the implementation. So I'll just speed this up a little bit, and I'll just assign that to another person, and then I will add that item, and I shall add that item as well, and then I'll assign this one to Jason. Okay, and I'll add that, and now I can save that, and now I've got my plans, and I can add any milestones in here. So I could say that I want to do some work out, what dates I'm going to do this. So I'm going to have a look at this tomorrow, and I'm going to assign that to Todd. I'm going to add a milestone, and then I'm going to write in there, Todd, can you, and save that. And I could build out multiple milestones there if I wanted to. So I'll just save that, and then I would submit that plan. The flaw with this demonstration is that the fact that once I've submitted it, it actually has to be approved by another user. You can't approve your own stuff, because that would be not such a great idea. So someone's now got an email who would be an approver to say that, this plan has been put into place. Can you approve it, see if you like it, and the timelines fit, so you could actually, go off and resolve that. So it was in summary, a fairly simple process to go from an alert, understand what that alert is, and move to a ticket. As soon as you create a ticket and you assign it to someone, they've already got alerted on that. And then when you create change management, then all of the people that you added into that change management process have automatically been emailed. Once it's approved, they will be automatically emailed, and it will detail what they have to go and do to resolve their problem. So everything's documented. Now, you may be connected to ServiceNow or another tool. We don't have API connectors, but what we have put together is that we can add in an email address specifically for ServiceNow or Freshworks or whichever one you use. So it would send the ticket to that ticketing, because you may want that because that's your preferred ticketing solution. Those ones are kind of specialized, so they probably are going to be slightly better than what we offer. But you're able to do that. But I think some of the important things here is that we've got this information that comes from this either on-premise or from Sentinel or from Defender. Now, the majority of our clients who are either in defense or in healthcare, they don't actually use Microsoft Azure for everything. A lot of clients are monitoring AWS. So all your AWS alerts would come here because they would be monitored by Sentinel, or your Google Cloud would come here. Or we have one company that uses Macintosh Macs. So from a security aspect, we don't monitor Macs per se, but from a security aspect, we do. They would also appear in here as well. And one of these alerts here would have come from Linux machines, or HPUX is pretty much what we cover. So the agents that we deliver from our portal, just to talk about those briefly, how do we get them onto a computer? So if I go to my user section, I've got this button here for additional actions, and I can download an agent, or I can copy an install script. So if I just copy that, it's now on my clipboard. A PowerShell script, I could just right click on a machine, and it would automatically install the script for it to connect to the portal. It will detect who you are by this ID, and it will install the agent. It's then done with PKI, so there's no usernames or passwords or anything. It's PKI based, and its endpoint is from your machine directly to our cloud servers, and then it will add it into the computer list that would be listed here. If you have 3,000 machines or something, you don't want to go and do that. You probably don't want to do that if you've got like 100. So what you can do is, if I go back into here and I go set up information, we supply all of the keys that you would need to be able to run that through Active Directory deployment or Configuration Manager or Managed Engine or whatever. You can deploy that, and it will again automatically arrive in the portal. But we do have another option, which is a little bit more convenient. We have a gateway server that you would install in your environment. It would typically be like a Windows core machine, and we would deploy that for you. And then we can actually push the agents out from our back end across your whole environment if need be. So it would make things a lot easier. The permissions for that would actually be done by the server based on your environment, because it would have a domain account to push out software. It's not done at our end. But if we do need to elevate a permission on a machine, say for example we want to monitor a SQL server, what we can do is we can add in a username and a password and a company. The reason we have companies that this is multi-tenant, so that if you want to run it across several companies or something, you can monitor several companies at the same time. And if I go to the profile, I would add in whatever that run as account is against these profiles that we've used. So if you want to monitor a SQL server, you would then deploy that to the just to the SQL machine. So then that elevated permission to get into your SQL server would just be deployed to the device that you've deployed that to, and then it would have that elevated permission. I'll just show you something else while we're here. We also have graphs and performance counters, which I can just add in here. I just double click on them and it will just install them straight away. So I could have a look here what my database outer space is, etc. And I can look for trends, and all of this is done in real time. So in SQL Server we have a lot, and also if I go to domain controller, we have a lot in here as well that I can have a look up for, you know, replication queues or DNS, etc. So there's lots of tools that will enable you to be able to monitor your environment and look for any signs of you know, tools being used that are using elevated permissions, and gives you early signs of what's going on. Okay, so I think I've got to keep talking for a couple more minutes. If we go to our products, you can add in additional products if you want to. So the AI powered SOC, because the portal is just an agent-based product until you add in the AI-powered SOC. Now that may be your own Sentinel environment, it may be your third-party suppliers, or it could be ours. It's either way, it doesn't. It will work. There's a small script that we give you to run. Everything works through Microsoft Lighthouse, so it's very secure, and we don't even really need to have a contributor account, just a reader account, and away it goes from there. We also monitor for configuration manager, config manager, or SMS or SCCM, whichever name you want to call it this week, which will give you very in-depth view of what's going on with that environment. It's kind of key, because patching means that you're patching vulnerabilities. Having less vulnerabilities means that you're having less attacks, or less surface for attacks. You can add in workstations and SQL servers and servers, and we have penetration testing as well, so you can buy into that, and then our pen testing service will be constantly looking at your environment. That could be on a typically a weekly basis, but you could do them daily if you wanted to, and that would give you a view, and the information would come to the portal. Okay, so I'm now going to hand over to Eric from Flare. The last time I did this, I wasn't particularly graceful in changing screens, so hopefully this one will go a little bit smoother. So just give me 2 seconds, please.
All right. Thank you so much, Simon. And I hope everybody is having an excellent day today. Thank you for joining us So today we're talking about a very important topic, Stealer logs and the dark web supply chain. So if you would go to the next slide for me, Simon, we'll kind of start with what is a Stealer log and what does the life cycle of a Stealer log look like. So Stealer logs are really infected devices. Well, they're information from infected devices. So what do I mean when I say that? So there's various variants of Stealer malware, and think of Stealer malware as a remote access Trojan that infects a computer and steals the browser fingerprint of that computer along with other data. So let's say I'm an average user, I'm going on different websites, and I find, I download some software and it has a remote access Trojan, let's say Redline or Raccoon malware. Now that malware is going to start stealing data from my computer. It starts with all of the saved passwords in the browser and goes on and also steals information, various information from my system, like information I've copied to my clipboard, operating system data, ISP data, IP address, etc. And it exfiltrates that all back to command and control infrastructure. So now a threat actor has every single password that I've ever saved in my browser, along with a bunch of different information about my computer. So what do they do with that? Well, there's really three areas that they work in. Number one, they give out Stealer logs and Telegram channels. So they'll combine a whole bunch of them together, thousands or even hundreds of thousands of devices, package it all up, and then give it away on Telegram channels and multi-gigabyte files. Number two, some threat actors will list it on Russian or Genesis malware, or Russian and Genesis Market, which are both dark web marketplaces that specialize in selling individual infected devices. And infected devices go for anywhere from $20 to $100. So a threat actor can go, they can find a listing and they can say, this listing has a VPN login, a Netflix login, or maybe even a corporate access login. They can purchase it for $50, and then they can use those credentials to log into an online service. So if you'd go to the next slide for me, please. So what information does Stealer malware capture? It starts with the operating system version. It also will typically include the ISP. It will include active session cookies, and this is really important. So you have 100 passwords saved in your browser, and I'm sure everybody here has tried to log into a website and it says, do you want to remember this computer? You hit yes. Well, because Stealer malware typically pulls active session cookies, that means the threat actor also has the remember this browser feature on, which means that they can potentially even bypass 2FA and multi-factor authentication controls using Stealer malware or using these Stealer logs. Compared to just kind of traditional leak credentials. So that active cookies piece is really important because anything that can bypass multi-factor authentication is a huge risk to businesses. It'll pull the IP address of the computer, FTP clients, VPN credentials, the browser cache. It'll pull the geographic location of the device. It'll pull the full browser fingerprint. It typically will try to pull the information from cryptocurrency wallets, the browser history, and saved credit cards. Next slide, please. So how do individuals get infected with Stealer malware? I think that's a really key question. So typically what we see is there's really three main mechanisms of distribution. Number one is users inadvertently download it through illicit ads. And these are Facebook and Google ads that look totally legitimate. Somebody clicks on it and it automatically is going to download that Stealer malware onto their computer. Number two is cracked software. So a lot of people look for unlicensed software on the clear web, on the dark web, and they go and they download it. Maybe it's a Microsoft, Adobe, kind of any software. And what threat actors do is they'll either just replace that cracked software file with a Stealer malware file, or they'll add the Stealer malware to the cracked software. And then when people download it, they're actually downloading Stealer malware onto their computer. Once it's been downloaded, typically what happens is the Stealer malware, it's a .exe file. It uses a PowerShell script to obfuscate the malicious code. It establishes persistent mechanisms on the device, and then it starts exfiltrating data off of that computer onto off to command and control infrastructure. On top of that, the Stealer malware, typically we see it can be very, very sophisticated. It'll often even create junk files on the computer to obfuscate its existence and make detection and analysis even more difficult. Next slide, please. So once it has established live communication with the command and control infrastructure, sometimes you'll see additional modules, additional types of malware, additional forms of malware downloaded on the endpoint. And then you'll see it really start to exfiltrate all of that data, host information, screen capture, initial logs. And it'll basically continually exfiltrate data for the lifetime that malware is on the victim's device. Next slide, please. So this is the really key part, right? How do you detect stealer malware? So it's a huge problem. We're seeing about 1 million new stealer malware logs per week that we're including in Flare's platform, which is also obviously included in ProtectOrg's offering through their security portal. And I think the really key question we have to answer for our customers is how do we detect this? And how do we help MSSPs get this kind of protection to small businesses? Because it's such a huge and significant threat. And basically, the way it works is most stealer malware, well, the way they list the devices is they'll say, okay, we have a device that logs from a device here. It has 100 logins. We're going to list all of the different logins on Russian market, on Genesis market, on Telegram that this device has access to, and then we're going to auction it off. So you'll also, if I was a threat actor and I was buying a stealer log, I would see, okay, this device has access to 2 Bank of America logins. It has access to, corporate login over here. And I'll basically be able to see the URLs that the device has access to. So by automatically monitoring across all of those millions, I think we have 15 million stealer logs in our database right now for your corporate domains being involved and where people have saved credentials to corporate domains. We can automatically detect those, and then MSSPs like ProtectOrg can go in and remediate those for you. And this is really critical because we believe stealer logs are one of the primary ways that malware is being distributed today. So there's this mass infection, millions of people get infected, and then threat actors will go through and they'll pick through all of these logs and find ones that have access to high value corporate information. They'll purchase them, and then they'll use that to establish initial access and distribute malware. Next slide, please. So where are threat actors finding stealer logs? The biggest place is illicit Telegram. Telegram serves multiple functions in the stealer malware lifecycle, and it's one of the really, really key things to talk about. It's even, I would say, most cybercrime today happens on Telegram, not on the dark web. And that's why one of the reasons we've worked with organizations like ProtectOrg to build really, really robust Telegram coverage to make sure that ProtectOrg's customers are able to detect any kind of threats to their organization on Telegram. So Telegram serves multiple functions. So first of all, threat actors sell the malware on Telegram. So if I was a threat actor and I wanted to buy Redline malware, I would go find a Telegram channel and I could buy either a 1-month license, a 3-month license, or a lifetime license. And then I would get access to the malware and the command and control infrastructure to receive information from the malware. So I would just have to come up with a distribution tactic. So I can buy the malware on Telegram. Then some of the command and control infrastructure is also actually hosted on Telegram through Telegram's API. So data, like I've infected devices now, data from those infected devices is being sent back to a private Telegram channel with me. Finally, Telegram is also where threat actors distribute the logs. So it's probably, we see millions being distributed on Telegram every single month. And the way threat actors do this is there are some channels that offer what we call free logs. So this is where they're just giving away potentially your company's information. So they'll give away a log that has access to 10 corporate logins, and another threat actor can just take that and try to see if those logins work and potentially log into an environment and distribute more malware, distribute ransomware, cause a data breach, etc. So detecting those early is really, really critical. And then we even see this concept of like paid Telegram rooms, where some logs that are really, really high value are given out in special Telegram VIP rooms where there's only up to 10 people in the room. And what this does for threat actors is it's kind of really the cream of the crop. We see a lot of corporate access being given out in these logs, lots of bank accounts, things like that. And so it's really critical to monitor those rooms as well, which is also why we at Flare, to work with companies like ProtectOrg, have gotten access to many, many of these kind of private VIP Telegram rooms. Next slide, please. Oh, that's it. Well, the last thing I would mention about stealer logs is it's really critical. The stealer logs don't discriminate on organization size. We see stealer logs for everything from Fortune 50 companies down to mom and pop small businesses, which is why it's so important to work with a reputable managed security service provider to do this monitoring for you. A lot of 10, 20, 50, even 500 person companies say, oh, this isn't going to be a problem for us. Like, we're too small to get hit. And it's absolutely not the case. Typically, when stealer malware is being distributed, whether it's through cracked software, phishing emails, malicious ads, they're not trying to target your company. But your company or one of your employees may get hit by by default, by accident. And then threat actors will say, this stealer log has access to a corporate environment, and it's absolutely worth paying $100 to see if I can break into this company's bank account, to see if I can distribute ransomware. to see if I can do all of these other malicious activities. And that's where organizations like ProtectOrg can really help your company stay secure, where you as a 50 or 200 or even 500 person company might not have the resources to do this monitoring yourself. They're able to leverage economies of scale and really do this monitoring across hundreds and thousands of customers, and give you kind of that visibility and access through their portal. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much, Simon, for the opportunity.
I have a couple of questions, Eric.
Absolutely.
So, in my bit, I'm talking about ransomware, I'm talking about malware, phishing, etc., because that's what we're all familiar with. Those are the sort of the buzzwords. But stealer logs, we don't hear much about them, but they really are a big problem, and they really, companies really need to be aware of them. Would you say that was a fair statement?
Absolutely, that's a fair statement. I think of stealer log, like most people tend to focus on the impact, right? Like if ransomware, then they have to get into your network somehow to distribute ransomware. Spear phishing is a little bit different, but kind of similar concept. People focus on the impact where it hits the data breach, the ransomware attack, like this real impact. Whereas stealer logs are the initial access that threat actors are using to be able to do those things, right? Like the threat actor always has to compromise some security control or series of security controls to be able to get access to your information, to be able to distribute ransomware, to be able to do these sorts of things. And stealer logs really represent, in many cases, that initial access that they're able to really easily get for free or spend $50 on. It's not hard for them. And if you're not doing monitoring for stealer logs, you're really missing, you're potentially exposing yourself to any threat actor who's in a Telegram channel and downloads a file.
Yeah, right. No, I totally agree with that. I mean, we spend a lot of our time in the Flare product and looking at what is out there, what is available to a bad actor to use against one of our clients, and that's predominantly what we're concerned about. But the amount of information that is collected, or just seeing the amount of passwords that have been, however they've been obtained, and stealer logs and all kinds of files, etc. It's still, after working with the tool now for over a year, I still are completely blown away by the information that you see. But then how you can actually use that information to protect your clients in a proactive way. I mean, who thought that that we could be proactive in such an aggressive marketplace as these bad actors? Because one thing for sure, when I see that the way that they work, it would be great if IT teams could work so efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one misperception that a lot of people have, Simon, is they think, especially small businesses that don't have dedicated security staffs. I think a lot of companies think like we're too small to be hit, or they think of threat actors as these highly sophisticated individuals and groups that they would never bother with us. And what we actually see in the end is like threat actors are very sophisticated, but in many cases, they're not technically sophisticated, but they're able to easily purchase things like pre-built malware, command and control infrastructure, distribution methods. Like it's almost like plug and play. There's this vast cybercrime ecosystem that enables even fairly non-technical threat actors to go and leverage all of these capabilities and just kind of indiscriminately hit small businesses. And I think that people make such a huge mistake in just assuming like, oh, I'm never going to be targeted. Like, sure, nobody ever might say, I'm going to go attack, Joe's plumbing business. But if Joe's plumbing business accidentally gets stealer malware on their corporate computer that has access to their bank account, you can bet a threat actor is going to take that, log into that bank account and drain all the money out of it. And I think that's where companies and people make a really significant mistake. And you're absolutely right. Like ProtectOrg, by leveraging kind of this analysis of this really robust analysis of the cybercrime ecosystem, you can be extremely proactive by working with ProtectOrg and kind of proactively identify all of these different infected devices across marketplaces and start remediating these things before they become data breaches.
That's fantastic. Thanks very, very much for you and Nabel for helping us put this event together today. I think people are going to find this very useful going forward. So I'm going to call it a close. I'm going to say very grateful. I learn something every time I speak to you, Eric. So to the next time. And
till the next time. Thank you so much, Simon.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.